parts arriving is always good, and I had a message from the bike shop yesterday that the clutch has arrived. So I had indicated in earlier videos that this is what we're going to do, put the clutch in, and wasn't sure of how long that might take, but then decided, oh, I'll get the clutch, and so I've got the clutch. Now I've had a peek, I have to say, but I want to do a little bit of a, I guess, an unboxing type of thing, just to see what's in it. So it's the Rekluse Performance Clutch. It's got, well, we've got two cameras so we can see both things. Required reading for the customer, so let's see what's in here. I couldn't see that there was a sticker anywhere, so that was a little bit disappointing. So it's the rider's guide, how to get the most out of your auto clutch. So free play, like lever free play, a QR code for videos. Oh, it might have its own installation video, I'm not sure. And that's a little bit of riding guide. Oh, actually, just seeing that thing. Use the included safety straps every time you park or leave the bike. And I had seen in this package the orange strap, and that must be what it means. And so we'll look on that later. Pull the lever tight against the handlebar, wrap the safety strap around and pull it tight and fasten it. We will look at that later on. So that's that. So what's in the pack? You get the centrifugal unit, and I haven't opened this, so we will open it and pull it out. But there's a little, yeah, there's like a rubber. I thought it was like a wristband, like a oh, there you go, you can put on a Rekluse, and it's like, no, it's actually got something more useful than just looking orange and nice. And in fact, there's another strap, so it could be a wristband actually, and I'm missing the point that here is the actual strap. Now there's two straps there, and again we'll figure out what they do. There's some little springs and some little keepers for this unit, which we will look at where they go later on. There's some screw holes there, and so this is the centrifugal part that obviously has a throw mechanism to where that is the bit that locks the clutch to give you friction to move. So we'll just keep an eye on that. There's not much to the kit really, and that's the springs that go with that. Then you've got your plates and the clutch springs, and actually that's it. And the basket, what would you call them? The sort of wear tabs. So we've got the springs, clutch spring kit, two different numbers. That's got yellow on them and they don't have any color. They are the slightly different height. So there's two different types of clutch pack spring, which the instructions will tell us about. Then we've got the friction plates. There's many that are steel, and then two that look like they're aluminium with the more regular friction pattern on them. And these have the sort of spaced out friction pattern on them. And I do know from having watched a number of videos that there is a little groove there that you have to line up when you're putting them into the basket, so we'll keep an eye on that. They are thicker, these are thinner, so there's obviously an order that you have to put them all in. And we also need to soak them. I've watched that on videos where you soak them in some oil. And then we have the plain steel friction plates. These go on the inside of the basket, slot into the inner part of the basket. So there's a good number of those, and even those look different. We've got 1, 2, 3 plates that look, well, they look different. I could be completely wrong. No, they're thicker again. So some are thicker and some are thinner. And then obviously there will be an order, and I'll give them a clean, although I'll need to soak them in oil, so I might just soak them in the oil. And then we have these clutch basket, what you might call wear strips. And I've seen this as well online, and they just slot in to where these will eventually, not that way, they will eventually rub against the tabs on here so that the force is against this metal and not the prongs, if that's what the official name is, of the clutch basket. So that's those keeper wear tab type thingamabobs. So that's all there is to it. And then we have some instructions, I guess. And then what's a sticker? Rekluse Auto-Clutch in use. Read safety warnings to prevent serious injury or death. So that's fairly, doesn't leave you with much to guess, does it? A product registration sheet. Looks like we've got the same one as the picture there, which is good. I can register my product. Not sure how valuable that will be, being all the way away from where it was made, but you never know. Installation guide, and it's Milwaukee 8 clutch cable actuated model, which obviously is what we have here on the Black Knight. And then we've got a dynamometer sheet, which sounds very interesting. In fact, that's interesting as well, that it does say for cable actuated big twins, although I think this is for an 18 and above bike. And just instantly looking inside, it's got the cable that we've actually put on it, but it's the old style cable. So it's interesting that they've chosen to use that as the image. And then we've got cable slack, 1.6 to 3.2 mil. And then we've got all the adjustment settings that we'll have to employ, which will be great. Oh, and then it's got the rubber band method. Yeah. Oh, 2 ways to check the free play gain. So that'll be interesting with our foot clutch, but we will get there, I'm sure. So the problem is you don't want to get it that wrong so that your primary has to come back off to adjust it, which I saw on one video, which seems like a pain. So we will make sure the adjustments are as good as we can get them while the bike is on the stand. So I've got some Syn3 oil here, synthetic Harley-Davidson oil for all 3 holes, they call it. That's for the engine oil, the primary oil, and the gearbox oil. And here's the quart that normally goes in the primary, because I've got an oil filter and I was going to do an oil change at some point. And I've used some of this already to top off the gearbox the other day when the clutch mechanism came off in the video about doing the clutch cable. I did need to top that off, so I've got some. So what I'll do is when it comes time to undoing the primary, draining that oil, cleaning that up, and then removing the old clutch basket to begin ready fitting this, I'll use this to put the oil in the bags, as I've seen people do, to pre-soak everything. And then I'll top this back off to being a full bottle, and then we'll use that as the full jug to go back into the primary once it's all back together. So that's all the parts. I'll have a good read, but one of the first things that we'll get on to doing is pulling the primary cover off and beginning to remove the clutch parts from the clutch pack, the basket there, and then we'll be able to start fitting these components in the order that they're supposed to go in. So let's get the primary off and start draining oil and beginning some disassembly. Right, bad news, I think. If you remember from my other videos, this was quite tight. Not this kind of slack, but it's now got a lot of slack. And I've just hooked it back on, taken all the slack out with the bolt, the adjuster screw, and it's sort of hard feeling. So I have a feeling that it's come off, that the tip has come off or come out this end. Which means footboard off, pipes off, side off. I'm gonna have to inspect the clutch end, but I thought it had like a little swing lock mechanism. So, you know, it's just what it is, but man alive, I can't believe it. So I'll get into it. I won't film it. I'll get into it and just see where we're up to once it's all open, because I'm gonna have to just do so much, so not good. All right, I'm back. Everything came off, but the idea was to check that end because I thought something was binding or catching, but as it turned out, when I pushed the cable into the ferrule by my hand and then adjusted the clutch screw, it then picked it up shorter. I thought perhaps the cable end had come out the other side, but I think with the rotation of the cable end, if this was too far out, it gave me lots of slack, but if I pushed the cable in, it then sort of picked it up. I'm not quite 100% sure, but that's now adjusted to what they call, well, it's not the free play. I think the free play is the cable end. It's like its adjustment. So you wind it in until it picks up with this one, and then just so it's binding, and then you give it one full rotation and then lock it off. And then you set your cable end with your adjuster, which is the concertina rubber thing there, which I had to remove some of the metal sort of slack nut because it wasn't, this is a custom cable for the bike. And I had to take all this off, etc. But now there's, if I can look in, we've got what you call adjustment slack, 3 to 6 millimeters. So I've made it 3 and a bit. So there's plenty of slack there, so that when the clutch unit begins to pick up the centrifugal side of things, it's got some, I don't know, slack at that end that it needs. I think that's what it is. But we will now fill the primary case with the quart and a bit of oil so it's level with that, and put the front on, and then it'll be a case of trying it. This is my super sophisticated homemade oil filler, so this will be a bit slow, but it will do it. It's an old baking tray from the kitchen, but as you've seen with my baking of paint, you can use all sorts of household items for your motorcycling needs, I have found. So apparently it's a quart and a bit. This is a 32 ounce bottle, although I think I've got more in here. I could be wrong, but because I topped it almost to the brim. I watched a video and it said you need about 36 ounces, so I've got more oil, so I can always just top it off until it's coming out or not coming out, but just rising up to the level there. Right, that's one full bottle. Normally I just chuck a bottle of this in and it's enough, but the guy did say, the Harley looking mechanic rather than just a guy, did say, to be fair, I've got it on a little stand plate, which I normally put under my stands, to be fair, so that it doesn't just wear the stand out. So I'll just pop that out and see if that just brings the level. Well, we'll put a little drop more in, doesn't need much. I think that's going to do. So with that checked and adjusted and this adjusted, and we've got nice movement here, not nice travel. All we need to do is try it. So that will be the next thing to do. Well, I hope you can hear me. I've just started the bike and I thought it was on record, but it's not recorded it, so you've missed my little blurb over the top, and it's windy as heck outside, so let me move. So everything's topped off, the oil's done, everything's ready to go, and I started it a couple of minutes ago, but the GoPro wasn't recording, so that's a pain. But everything's been set, ready to go, so I'm just going to show you the orange band that when you blip the throttle, it begins to grab and pick up the clutch. And the next thing to do will be to put it into gear in the garage with the clutch in, then let the clutch out, and it should not move. So you'll see the clutch picking up the slack on this rubber band here in a moment. Good. So what I need to do now is, well, let me just quickly recap. I haven't started the bike and I thought I'll start it on camera, and I did, but sometimes the GoPro I feel acts up. I could be just doing it wrong, but anyway, started, it got to idle speed. The orange band is designed to take up the free play from your, as it were, your clutch lever out, so that when you do roll on the throttle to engage the clutch here, it begins to act differently and it grabs it. That was working. I also let it get to idle speed, put it into gear, and then I wasn't even thinking, just instantly took my foot off the clutch, which is bizarre, I don't know why, but had my hand on the brake, so it would have stalled if it was too highly set. And then it just sat there, and I rolled on the throttle, and you see it pick up and it begins to grab and move. So next thing I need to do is get my gear on, go down to a car park somewhere and do the run-in procedure, which is you leave it in gear and you go to about 3,500 revs across like a parking area or a flat piece of road 15 times, says the book. So we'll go and find a place where we can do that, obviously carefully ride it till we get there, and then do that break-in procedure for the clutch. So that's about 15-16 runs in first gear across the car park up to about 3,500 revs and down again. That's part of the run-in procedure. We'll check again the adjustment at the foot clutch end just to see what that movement looks like. It should be about 3 to 6 millimeters in movement once you lift the acceleration as it begins to bite. Let's go check that. So it does look like to me that everything's in spec, so we're going to ride it through to the bike shop and have a cuppa, I think, and just see how it goes on a bit of a longer run now. slight incline. Both feet on the ground, clutch is out. Otherwise I'd be stalling all over them. I wouldn't want to give it like a handful though. Just to see what happens if we really let it take off. Ride, the work in the car park to bed in the clutch, absolutely perfect. It picks up just in the early sort of the thousands of revs, idles about 850, 900 when it's nice and warm, but just from gentle roll on it begins to pick up really smoothly, and pressing the clutch down to change the gears, I don't think you have to do that, but I like to. Feels just really smooth. Now the difference between this clutch and in the other video, the video number 1 in this project series, is that this one does have clutch springs, and the lock-up clutch from Revlock from a few years ago, that was all ball bearings that threw out. It had no springs at all, and so it just made the clutch foot action quite different. This is really more like a hand clutch with the spring action in it. And then it's got that expanding centrifugal component in the clutch unit. Absolutely brilliant. So you can come to a complete stop. I've needed it a couple of times already today where you just want both feet on the ground and you can just sort of pull away. Thanks for joining me on this project, and I look forward to seeing you on the next one real soon. This is Bobberbob. Ride safe. See you later.